You're tuning in to another episode of Unmasking Autism with AFO. I am your host, Carley Marissa Dummett. This podcast does discuss topics and themes that may be triggering to some listeners, so viewer discretion is advised. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Unmasking Autism with AFO. I'm your host, Carley Marissa Dummett, and today is World Autism Day. I have a great guest for y'all today, Officer Cody Galloway. Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for being here.
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump in?
Well, my name is obviously Cody Galloway. I work for the Jenks Police Department, and I was diagnosed with autism back when I was about 16, 17 years old. So.
Okay, cool. That is actually part of the first question I have for you. Do you want to share a little bit about your journey being diagnosed as a teenager and maybe some of the challenges you faced that prompted you getting that diagnosis?
So when I was diagnosed, I was about 16, 17 years old. When some of the things that I've my family noticed, I was very detailed orientated. I'm a very routine individual. And so some of that stuff and some of my grades, I did really well with math and science. However, your vocabulary and your speaking and stuff like that, I struggled. So some of my times my grades were amazing. Other times if it was something that I've done from a previous school, because I did move around a little bit when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And one of the schools I attended, what I was doing in high school is the same thing I did in middle school at a different institution. And so I got bored and I didn't turn in my homework. I didn't do assignments. I would just do the test. And my grades were diminishing just because I was bored. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to do the work because it wasn't challenging anymore. So that prompted my family to get me tested. And with that diagnosis and trying to keep myself challenged and learn something new versus something that I've already done and recalling information that I learned in 6th, 7th, 8th grade wasn't being brought up much anymore. So.
Okay. I was diagnosed as a child, so when you were diagnosed with autism, do you remember anything about that time period? Like, was it a sense of relief, or did things sort of click together for you, or?
It was scary at first, I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't want to be something different. I didn't want to be outstanding from my classmates or my friends and stuff like that. I didn't want them to judge me for who I was. But fortunately, most of my friends were very, acceptance of it and understood, and they kind of knew that I was different in a good way and not in a bad way. So.
Okay, cool. No, autism is different in a good way. So what about you're a police officer? So when did you know you wanted to be a police officer? What was that journey like?
So, long story. I've always been fascinated with law enforcement and other first responders. My older sister wanted to be a police officer, and she did become a reserve for a little while. However, she did not like being an officer out in the elements, and she wanted to find another way to help our community, so she became a dispatcher. And while she was a dispatcher, I would go up there and watch her, see how she did her job, get to meet other officers and other first responders, and I knew I wanted to be a police officer. At the time, I was looking at my education, and so I did graduate with my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, but I also have a degree in marketing. And I went down the marketing path and sales path before becoming law enforcement. A little bit of my background on that. I went and worked for the Walt Disney Company. Okay. Down in Orlando. And I was a very shy individual. I didn't like public speaking. I didn't like getting in front of people. I didn't want to talk in front of people. And the role that I got was talking on the back of a tram. And that scared me because Walt Disney World has millions of people that visit their parks every day. And you're telling somebody that has social anxiety, that doesn't like getting public speaking, that you have to get on the back of the tram and tell them, hey, welcome aboard the Magic Kingdom Courtesy Tram. And that was a big shocker. However, that organization and that experience got me better with talking in public, got me talking in front of people, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would do it all over again if I could. I then transitioned to recruitment and recruited college students to either do the Disney College Program or Disney Professional Internships, either at the Walt Disney World or Disneyland Resort.
Okay.
After that, I transitioned to marketing and did marketing for the Walt Disney World Resort, working with third-party clients and making sure they understood what was going on in our park. So I still had a lot of communication. I still had a lot of building rapport with people. And that helped me get more comfortable talking to people in a professional role and not have that anxiety of going, you want me to go talk to this person at this time? And versus, okay, I can go up and talk to somebody. And I think that helped me getting into the law enforcement because we do have to interact with people. And we have to interact with people on their worst days. Nobody calls us, hey, you want to have a barbecue?
Yeah.
It's either they've been involved in a motor vehicle collision, or they were burglarized in their house and they came home and their sense of security was broken because somebody's been in their house without their permission. Or it could be a domestic violence incident. And again, that's not a good day for either men or women in that scenario. And then worst case scenario, a loved one passed away. So, and that's the hardest part about my job, is knocking on someone's family door and going, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm here to have you sit down for just a moment and tell them that their loved one's been killed. And for me, not having that emotional connection, it's hard for me to relate to them. But I still have to be professional, and sometimes they're bawling and I want to comfort them, but I don't know how to comfort them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. Wow. But Disney helped you be able to prep for those scenarios.
Yes. Because people would spend thousands of dollars to come to the Walt Disney World Resort, and something may be closed or something may go wrong, and you've got to help them through that process, because most families, it takes them 5 years to save up, and you don't want one bad experience at the Walt Disney World Resort to ruin their whole vacation.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you a question, and I know that this is kind of like a hot topic, but if there, as an autistic police officer, if there was like a stereotype you wish more people, you could dispel about police for people, what would one of those be?
We're not here to ruin your day. Again, we're trying to keep people safe. We're trying to keep our families safe because we have loved ones on the road, and we want other officers to treat our family as if they were their family, but we also want to treat everybody the same. So if I meet you on the side of the road, or if I meet somebody else on the side of the road, yes, it may not be a good incident. It may be from speeding, maybe from a motor vehicle collision. It may be for something else, but we're here to be as professional as we can. There's a lot of senses that go in that area. It can be a chaotic situation. And, sorry, trying to think of the words I need to think.
No, you're good.
So, it can be a chaotic situation where we need to find a common source or a common goal to go towards and gain control of the situation to calm it down. And I'm a very procedure person, so when I work in motor vehicle collision, I work exactly the same as every single one. I know I have other officers coming on scene, I have other first responders coming on scene, and I want it to go as safely as possible for not only us, but for the other motorists that are around us, because the looky-loos, but also the people that are already in a situation. When we're on the side of the road, people like to look at us and look at the situation and cause more collisions. And so that's something else we have to keep out and keep aware of. And that's why the move over law is in place, to get people over. And I know it slows people down, but it's for their safety, for the people's safety that we have on the side of the road, and for our first responders.
No, that is very true. I definitely do look when I drive by an accident. So again, you bring a very unique perspective to the police force, being that you do have autism. So we at AFO, we offer sensory kits to law enforcement officers and first responders that can help a person with autism experiencing sensory issues on the scene of an emergency. And as you just described, oftentimes those situations are loud and intense and chaotic. So how do you manage your own sensory sensitivities in a situation like that as a person with autism and a police officer?
So being a very routine person, I try to keep my routine the same way, even though the situation might be slightly different. If I deviate from that, I could go into stimulant overload, and I've been overwhelmed on calls in the past. However, I just have to sit back, cool off, and figure out what I need to do next. I may fidget with something. I've got keys on me. I've got other things on me. Now for other individuals, I've got these things called comm strips that I hand out. I've got little fidget spinners and other stuff there. I even have stuff for people that are overstimulated, but children. I have a whole bunch of stuffed animals in my patrol car just for that situation, to kind of bring a little light in a dark area. So they're not afraid of us or the other first responders, but also to kind of have some type of sense of security blanket for them to get through this terrible situation. Because
So your badge has the puzzle piece on it, and so does your patrol car. And I know you and I talked a little bit about this before we started filming, and I think you just bring such a good perspective to such a controversial topic. When it comes to the puzzle piece, would you mind sharing your personal perspective on that?
So the puzzle pieces themselves, they are vibrant in color, and they are pieces, correct? So with the pieces, it means we're trying to fit in a world that may be different. However, the colors still represent each and every one of us, because we are vibrant people, we are sharp individuals, and this is the way to keep ourselves representative. Hey, we're not changing ourselves to fit in, we just want to fit in our own unique way.
No, I think that's great. A lot of people think that Autism Speaks sort of dominates the puzzle piece, and now some people say you're supposed to use the infinity symbol, but I think that people should use whatever it is that works best for them, and so I just think you have a really great perspective on the puzzle piece. There is a bill in the Oklahoma legislature right now, House Bill 3671, that would allow for individuals with autism to voluntarily identify their diagnosis on their driver's license or state ID. And the bill would also allow for information to be voluntarily shared in outlets, OLETS for those listening, and provide autism training for police. How do you feel about this bill? And how do you anticipate it could help other patrol officers?
So, seeing numerous departments before this bill was representative, and I've followed Facebook pages for numerous law enforcement, and I also lived in Central Florida. And Central Florida had something very similar, but it wasn't through their OLETS terminal. It was they would put little stickers or little badges on the back of their vehicles to let any law enforcement know that there's somebody with sensory condition inside that vehicle. Now with technology as it grows, having it in OLETS would be phenomenal. And I know there's departments out here that have it in their own CAD system. So when you call 911, it'll alert the dispatcher, hey, this individual has sensory overload or lights, strobe lights or loud sirens, or can set them off. But also people with autism, especially on certain parts of the spectrum, may not understand this uniform, may not understand my patrol car, may not understand what a firefighter does or a paramedic. And we have to remember when we arrive on scene, because we have seconds to figure out what's going on. And if we have some type of notification beforehand, on our way there, we can mentally prepare ourselves to address this individual. This individual may not understand that we're trying to talk to them, or they may be deaf, or may have vision issues or something like that. So you tell somebody, hey, let me see your hands, but they don't understand, let me see your hands. Then you may have to approach it a slightly different way, but not get that command presence and overstimulate that individual.
For people who think that this bill would be leading autistic people into harm because cops want to harm people, as an autistic police officer, what do you think about that? Because those are real comments that we get.
Yeah. Most law enforcement officers and other first responders are not there to harm you. They're here to help. They volunteer their services to serve the public and their community. So I've served the city of Jenks. I served the state of Oklahoma. I'm also on a tribal reservation, so I'm here to assist the tribal citizens in their respective area. I volunteer my time and services. Yes, I could go get a different job and something else, but it's not reward worthy. The reward is going out there and making sure a victim is safe from their predator, or somebody that was in a motor vehicle collision recovers and be able to continue to visit their family. So law enforcement themselves, we're not here to ruin your day. We're here to, yes, put bad people behind bars like they need to be, but not everybody's a bad person. And I've been on numerous instances, especially mental health. Having bad thoughts or self-harm is okay to not be okay. We're here to help you and help you get the resources that you need through our organizations in the Tulsa area with COPES or the Crisis Care Center. So we can get those individuals in the mental crisis in the right direction, and the right counselors and the right therapists and psychologists and stuff like that, and get them in the way they need to go. But we also need to go after the people that are hurting people. So you've got your violent criminals, you've got the people that are gang banging, you've got the individuals that are unfortunately raping other individuals, but we need to put those people behind bars. And yes, we do need to go after them. We need to serve warrants. We need to serve high volatile situations and get them where they are in a safe place and they can't harm anybody else.
Yeah, because bad people exist in all facets of life, in all areas. And I think that that's an important thing to mention at times, because I think people tend to forget that bad people exist everywhere. Also, for people who may not know, police officers and first responders are constantly taking continuing education classes and credits and things like that, right? Like, you don't just go to the police academy and graduate and boom, that's it, you're done. Like, you're constantly educating yourself, right?
Yes. So under Oklahoma, we are required to have 25 hours as a full-time officer of continuing education every year. Fortunately, in the department that I work with, last year I had 200 and some hours of training.
Oh, wow.
But we also have so many hours of mental health, so many hours of sexual assault, and a couple other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. But we are constantly training. I've got recertifications coming up as well for my EMR. I've got my select with the United States Bureau of Indian Affairs trainings. I also have my Muskogee Creek Nation training that I have to keep up with as well.
Cool.
So there's tons of training that we have to keep up with. It's just like a doctor or a paramedic or a firefighter. There's constant training and understanding new protocols or new laws or new adaptations of laws.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Good to know. I'm glad I know that. Is there anything else that you want to discuss or talk about before we wrap this up?
I know you guys wanted to know about my particular patrol car.
That's right. Oh my God. Yep. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Please tell us all about your car, which is very cool.
So my car is wrapped with the autism awareness. It does have the puzzle pieces on it, and it has them where they look like they're being blown off the car, but they're also being put together around our seal, or our basically patch on the door. The light bar on top, I can turn it off if I stop somebody that may have epilepsy or other light stimulant overloads. And so I can turn that particular bar off, but all the other ones remain on.
Okay.
And so it still allows my car to be seen to the general motorist, but the people in the back seat or juveniles in the back seat or adults in the back seat cannot see that light bar from their position as they turn back. So it turns that light off and not stimulate them.
Cool. Yeah. And I can put pictures of that up when I post the episode. Cool, yeah. I really appreciate you taking the time and for your service as well, but for just taking the time to meet with me today and educating us all a little bit more and sharing your unique perspective as a cop on the spectrum. So thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you again for tuning in to Unmasking Autism with AFO. I'm your host, Carley Marissa Dummett. For any information on our trainings or our events, please visit www.autismfoundationok.org or follow us on social media platforms at Autism Foundation OK. As always, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.